it is 7 o'clock on Thursday, September 12th. This is the regular city council meeting for the city of Alburnett, and we will go ahead and call this meeting to order. We will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, we got roll call. Councilor Trump.
Present.
Councilor Bosenberg.
Here.
Present online. Councilor Suka.
Present.
Councilor Myers.
Present.
Councilor West is absent. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum to conduct business tonight. I don't have any changes to the agenda, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Dave, we got an aye?
Yeah.
All right. Motion carries. Brings us to our sheriff's report, and we will recognize the deputy.
Well, we had approximately 29 calls for service. Nothing that I'm seeing that stood out. Yeah, nothing really major that I saw. Any questions or comments? Concerns?
I do just want to thank, just for the public's knowledge, we got notice yesterday that we were going to have to do some detours on Roosevelt during school dismissal, and the sheriff's office was amazing to get somebody up here to help support us in case anything went sideways, and we appreciate you guys always being ready.
That's why we're here.
Very last minute.
Much sometimes rather be around here than hang out on the highway hitting sideswipes. So anytime we can be around, I know Kelly's floating around a lot doing school stuff, but if we're around and we can be of help, we'll be here.
We appreciate the support.
If you have anything, obviously call, nothing's too small for us, so.
Perfect.
Alrighty.
Anything else for the major? All right.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
They did have somebody new in the office. You'll notice your sheriff's report looks a little bit different. They sent us the one with all the addresses, so we redacted that for your packets because that is not public record. So, all right, it brings us to citizen comments. We have two types of comments in the city of Alburnett, those for agenda-related items and non-agenda-related items. We do ask that you state your name and address clearly for the record and limit it to 5 minutes. If you are on the agenda, you'll speak at a different time, so this is comments related to agenda items. Do we have any comments on agenda items? Hearing none. Non-agenda related items? It's you.
I'm just here tonight. My name is Molly Donahue. I reside at 4408 Pepperwood Hill in Marion. I'm currently the senator in Marion, but I'm running for county supervisor here in Alburnett along with all the other 17 towns along the district. So I'm just coming tonight to listen into what happens here in Alburnett. I've been to all the other districts as well to their city councils, so I'm just kind of making my rounds and introducing myself. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Any other comments on non-agenda related items? All right. With that, we'll move on to the mayor's report. Apologize, I didn't have my notes ready. Give me 1 second. Too many things going on. All right, first and foremost, I would like to extend a ginormous thank you to Eileen. Our temporary employee, her last day is tomorrow, so I meant to look up the number of records that you scanned, but it has to be in the thousands, so.
When we had this copier serviced, it was 105,000, and that was a week ago, so it's more than that now.
So, that is no small feat. We had records that dated back to the 50s, I believe.
40s.
We found some gems. Not only did she get it all scanned, but cataloged. I will tell you, it already paid dividends. We got a note from the IRS the other day that we missed a certain filing and popped it right up with a search. So it's already been invaluable, and we appreciate you so much. You came in during a difficult time, and we just appreciate your dedication and helping us out, so.
I can help.
Next on my list, nuisance updates. We do have one nuisance that is currently we're working to abate, so the property owner was given a deadline of September 1st, did not meet that deadline, so we will be working with our legal team on next steps for that. So I will keep everyone posted. We've got a few others in progress, but they are cooperating with Lynn County, with the building department, who helps with our property maintenance nuisances, and so we're hoping to get those resolved without any further legal action. Generator update. There was a little bit of a miscommunication between us and the contractor as far as who would generate the contract, and so we haven't signed anything quite yet. I'm hoping they got the stuff ordered, but I'm working with our attorney to draft up a contract to go along with that. So we haven't really done this without an engineer before, and I think the engineers have provided that documentation previously, so we'll get it all straight. And then last on my list is we had some complaints come in. I'm not sure if they hit Facebook or not, but they did call City Hall, and I know there was a question from Councilor Myers at the August 27th special meeting around horse manure on the streets. We have had a group of horse riders going through town, which we always appreciate. I love seeing the animals, they're gorgeous. Our animal ordinance does state that no animal, dog, cat, or other animal is allowed to defecate on public property within the right-of-way or private property other than their own. So just know that it is covered by the ordinance. They should be cleaning it up. If you see it, nicely ask them to do so. If not, call City Hall and we'll determine next steps. We kind of have to know where they come from. I don't know if we've determined that, but just know, interpretation of our ordinance is any animal is not to defecate in public property. So on that note, it's a wonderful note to end on. That is my mayor's report. I will move to council comments. Councilor Traum.
No comments.
Councilor Sue.
No comment.
Councilor Myers.
No way I can top that report.
Councilor Bosenberg, anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Eileen for all of her hard work. She's done a wonderful job getting all that stuff cleaned up. And then I just want to throw out this to the council, and it is something that the Lions Club is looking into, is trying to get a speaker system for the city. And they're going to talk to different groups in the city to see if, if it's something they want to participate into, going into, and it would be, for like we could use it at the car show, and it would have we could have like 4 different speakers on it and go through the whole town so that when we have like the car show, Santa Days, everybody could hear it. So it is something they're working on. Probably won't see anything till November probably. And then they want to have a committee meeting with somebody from each entity on the team to look at this on the committee. And so just be thinking about it, and I'll keep you guys informed on more than what's to come with it.
Perfect, thank you. Dave and I did chat about it the other night. I said something like that could be helpful. Let's, heaven forbid, we ever have another derecho or something like that, to be able to make announcements on where to take brush or, those types of things. So I think there can be, in addition to just festivities, it could have emergency applications as well. All right, anything else from council? Hearing none, we'll move on to written reports. So this starts on page 3 of your packet. And first up is our fire department. Take it away.
I assume Ron sent you guys a report, right?
We have his report. We could follow up. We didn't get meeting minutes this month. I do think he's out of town, so he may not have had access to the hard copies of those. But yes, we do have a report. Basically,
He'll catch up on that when he gets back, I'm sure.
okay, yeah, you had a question about the cadet program, since we had mentioned that we had talked with insurance. He wanted to know what had been discussed. Really nothing, just that it was a potential remember how it came up, Chris. We were talking about,
We were talking about the renewal on of the insurance and the EMC, and then we got to talking about, I think, the work comp portion of it.
Yep.
From that standpoint of, yeah.
yeah, and I knew it was a possibility, so I just kind of dug into what does that mean from an insurance standpoint. But beyond that, no other discussion or decisions on cadets, so I look forward to partnering on that one,
Okay.
see where we can get.
Would you like us to see if we can put something together and then see if it will work with everybody?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
See if that would work. See if we can work on something like that. The driving policy guide thingy,
Yes,
we're working on that and getting that ready, and we have to get the okay from the state to even put anything in place, but it's something that we have to do, so we end up putting that all together in case you guys are wondering how that works, okay? So that's what we're doing, and you'll get to see that too, but it is our responsibility, we have to put that together, okay?
is that, the emergency driving or the non-emergency? Because I think you were working on both.
The emergency is one thing, but non-emergency was what we were looking at in
Okay.
particular at that time. Emergency is another thing, but emergency is essentially, we have to follow the state protocols, the state laws for emergency vehicles. So that's kind of it's right there.
Sure.
For,
To make it easy?
yeah, we don't have to do much to write anything up for that because that's what we have to follow,
Okay.
okay?
So I would love council to see that. So I did give feedback. I hadn't run it by anybody on council, so yeah, once you guys are comfortable, I'd love for them to see where we landed on non-emergency. There might be something we didn't think about, so.
Okay, and what else did I want to ask? Purchases, what did we decide?
It is on tonight's agenda, actually. So we've got it is item C, 11C under new business, to establish purchase authority for certain expenditures without prior council approval. So there's a couple of blanks I'll need these guys to fill in, so if you have time and can stick around for that, they may have some questions.
Okay.
Because specific on fire, we do have a blank to fill in for supplies, like a per transaction amount, just to get an idea of what's reasonable.
Yep. That's, like I said the last time, if I could just have something so that when we come back from a call and we have to replenish our supplies, and if I don't have any, I have to order, and I have to have it as soon as I can. So that's where the catch comes.
Yep, so that is on the agenda. This is somewhat of a temporary solution. I'd still like a full-fledged procurement policy, but it's something I've got on the priority list for when we get the city administrator hired.
Exactly. And the other thing is, I think Ron wanted to know about the service contracts, like where we would be with the defib lease, inspection stuff that they do all the time. Is that still in effect, and how long does that go, or does it go for the life of the defibrillator? Those kind of things, fire extinguishers, those kind of things, compressors.
That is an excellent question.
Thank you. We were kind of curious to know.
I will look into it.
Ron and I probably shouldn't have been talking, it's dangerous when we do that.
Somebody between you two. I don't want to misstate. I do believe the AED had a time limit, like we signed a certain contract. I want to think 3 years, but don't quote me. So we'll look into that. Fire extinguisher, any of the other stuff, like I don't know if we had a contract as much as we would just reach out. So I'm gonna double check on that one too. But yeah, that's a great question. I don't know.
We're just curious to know what the service agreements are, if we can figure out what the service agreements are and for what, so that we know what we have to work around and what we have to do for this stuff. That would be very helpful for us.
That's a great call.
Hey, Bethany,
Yes, sir.
I'm not hearing what they're talking about, the question. What was it about the fire extinguishers?
Oh, they're just, Verna was wondering what service agreements we have in place for the fire department, so like the AED lease and the inspections on fire extinguishers and like the air packs and those types of things.
Okay, I thought we took them, fire extinguishers, they just gathered them and took them into Hawkeye Fire, I think, and did it. It should be on the bag on the fire extinguisher should have the tag and who certified it last.
Yeah, I think she's wondering if we have an agreement with them, or if they just take it in whenever, or if Hawkeye would
Yeah.
initiate it, cause I think they come here, cause they came to City Hall and did the one at City Hall, so we'll look through contracts, and I bet Eileen knows exactly where those are.
I didn't do the fire.
I'll look tomorrow.
There we go. Last day task,
Yeah.
get it done.
I know in terms of fire extinguisher inspections, usually there is a contract in place.
Yes.
And they're coming out, I don't know what the period of time they inspect is, but usually they will be out there, to take care of that.
The same thing like with oxygen tanks and that kind of stuff, you know?
I don't know about that, extinguishers, just in commercial applications, I've had to deal with that.
So just questions that we were kind of thinking about and that we need to work on, so if you think of anything on your end, tell us.
Yep, absolutely, but I'll start digging for those, I'm sure we can find something.
Tell Dave I'm sorry I'm not talking loud enough.
Verna apologizes for being too quiet, I don't think she's ever had to
Okay.
apologize for that.
Yeah, they could just speak up a little bit, then I can hear it.
Okay, perfect, I can repeat too.
Okay.
Alright, anything else?
Good.
Alright, Chief Hoover did have on his report that you guys did some testing with the fire hose attack lines and how you wanna kinda configure those.
Yes,
And then had some straps that he wanted to purchase.
right, you
So
wanted
again,
6.
that's probably gonna fall within our procurement, he's got them here as $95 a piece for 6 of them, so I would imagine that's gonna fall within our threshold, so. But for future, if he wants action, quotes are super helpful, so if you could pass along the hard copies of those, that would be good.
I was gonna say, you guys have probably, I'll talk loud so you can hear me, Dave, I'm sorry.
Yep, got it, I got it.
You've probably heard or seen that we've had a lot of practice stuff going on at the station. We did go to Dara's last month and do practice extrication, where you tear a car apart to get people out when there's a severe accident and those kind of things. So that was good practice for everybody. And this last Sunday, we had a practice with the grain bin, where somebody gets into the grain, into the corn, and they get buried in the corn, and how do we get them out of there, and then what's safe for everybody. So we've been doing a lot of practice things. With fall coming up, we have nasty stuff that happens, especially when it's out in the fields at this time, since we're rural. So we're just getting our people prepped.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Did Lifelight get rescheduled? Because I think they had to abandon the one night they were supposed to come.
Yeah, they were not able to come, and they have increased their ability to be flying. They seem to increase their number of flights, so it's kind of hard to get them in here right now. Lifeguard is not back yet. They have a loaner at the moment, and for the first time ever that I can ever remember, we flew a little guy out. When was it, you guys? But
It was a Saturday.
it was on a Saturday, probably about 3 weeks ago. We flew the little guy, and Mom was asked if she wanted to fly along because they were going to the U. And I have never, ever seen anybody get to fly except the patient.
Yeah, there's usually not room.
Right.
Interesting.
So that was a unique thing, but the chopper was large enough to carry a mom, so that was good.
Wonderful. Well, I know John works hard to get that scheduled for us, and we appreciate him because that's invaluable. Like you said, if you have to call him, at least you guys know what to expect, and they know us, which I like.
We did have Sue Minks from Lifeguard come out, and she did the training on how we are to call, respond, how we are supposed to work with the chopper. But until we actually get our hands on the chopper that we can play and practice, that would be even nicer. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you. Anything else for Verna? Gentlemen, you got anything to add? Just here for the show. I do have a question. We're talking about a cadet program. You are recent graduates. You're both now 18. Would you have participated in a cadet program? Are you aware of interest remaining in the school?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. It's gonna be a lot of effort, so to implement and make successful, so. Never heard them so quiet.
They're not usually.
All right. With that, we will close out the fire report. I did have a sub-bullet for the non-emergency, mainly so I didn't forget, but like I said, we'll see that when you guys get approval on it, so I appreciate the work put into it. Next up, Public Works. This is gonna be on page 4. Dave, I'm gonna turn you around so you can hear Mac.
I don't have a lot of updates. Still working on trying to get all 3 wells updated and in working order, and working on various projects in the meantime. Is there any if there's no questions, I don't have any updates since the report.
I don't recall the report. DNR, did you have the inspection on that?
That's next week.
Next week?
Yeah, scheduled for next Wednesday.
That's for drinking water,
Yeah,
right?
our formal drinking water inspection is next week with the DNR. So hopefully get some answers and clarification on things then.
So is 3 still offline?
It can be run. We've tested it for a couple days, but we saw the chlorine going down each day, so we didn't want to let it drop too much. So we took water samples and we're waiting to meet with the DNR on the results with those before we run it full time. But it's operational now.
Okay.
So the DNR stepped in for an informal type inspection, gave us some pointers, had us change a couple of things, and one thing they mentioned is, so we recently acidized that one, it can change the chemistry because it can open up ports that were maybe not open before, and so they recommended to run the raw water samples to just see what's going on, and then we can determine what we need to do with it, and so part of it is we wonder if it's not pulling more ammonia now, and that's why we're what would have been normal operating chlorine does not seem to be normal operating chlorine. So, and then well 2 is, as you've noticed, Northway's been here, they cambered it, and we're just kind of waiting to hear back from them on status of everything. So the pump was not good and had already been rebuilt once, so we assume we're replacing the pump. Their pipe needed replaced, right?
Yeah, pipe, it's pretty much gonna need everything. Pipe needs replaced. The shafts have been reused once. They can be turned over and used again. They've already been done once, so they're gonna be new ones of those, and the motor's from the 90s, so I'm guessing it's gonna be replaced as well.
I did get a big thank you from the superintendent on the lighted crosswalk, and I got to see it in action today, so that was kind of cool. So, yeah, that's been a good addition. We're working on the approach has been poured for the other one, and then we're waiting to locate to see if we can put that where we intend to. If not, we may have to go back to the drawing board if there's utilities in the way, but. All right. Any questions for Mac? Perfect. City clerk, so Vicki could not be here with us tonight. Her report starts on page 6. I do apologize, I didn't notice until I helped her pull the packet together, and then I didn't open mine, that we didn't do the profit and loss statement for you. The good news is that the FY25 budget is in clerk books. Everything balances with what we have provided the state, so we will start giving you that profit and loss statement starting next month. She did do the treasurer's report that just shows the balance within our funds, but again, it's so early in the fiscal year. Any questions on Vicki's report, on the clerk's report?
None here.
Alright. We did have one implication, kind of a big one, to the fire department budget, so we'll make sure to rectify that. We had an invoice that had not been paid from February of last year for Raycom for the medical truck, and it was like $17,000, so that took a hit to your budget. So we already have to do some budget amendments. It's one that we're gonna note. We're gonna probably have to do it sooner rather than later, just to bring that back to what they should have for this year, so. It's what we gotta do. So, if we get you a profit and loss, don't panic. We're aware and we'll get you square, so. Cause we'll start providing that before meetings so that you guys have visibility into the fire department budget. One thing, I'm gonna shift to page 9. It is a sub-bullet. It's the outstanding obligations report that was filed with the state. This is not anything council needs to vote on. It is just a formality, but we wanted to make sure that you had visibility and access to it. So right now we've got 3 GO bonds plus our state revolving fund loan. And so all of those are considered for our outstanding obligations. But as you can see, we're paying those down. I do think one of the GO bonds is about to fall off, the Lagoons. We refinanced it in several years ago, 2019, I think, for a much lower interest rate, which was awesome, but that one was almost already to end of the payment cycle, so that'll be good. We're gonna open up some debt, and then we can start looking at projects and those types of things. So any questions on the debt obligation report? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. So you've got minutes from the August 8th meeting as well as the August 27th special meeting. One thing I do want to note, because I did not catch it until I was reviewing my packet, within the claims, everything looks pretty standard. We did have the claim come in for the repairs on 136. As you'll recall at our last meeting, we made some assumptions about the labor. It does appear that the labor came in higher than we were expecting, because we approved, I think, like $2,300, and it came back at the $4,698. So I will do better about making sure we have solid quotes, so that one's on me. But I did want to point it out, and the discrepancy between what was paid and what was invoiced, but it's just the nature of the work. It does 136 back in service, correct?
Sure is.
Awesome. So, otherwise, everything else is pretty standard. We have not yet received an invoice for the well 3 work that was done, so we're on bated breath waiting for that one. So. Alright, any questions? If not, I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So
Moved by Sukup, second by Bosenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Alright, new business. You don't have anything in your packet. I do apologize, Chris, we probably should have followed up with you. So I just have it as a review item right now, so I want to build it into a resolution for approvals, so.
Okay.
But Chris is here to talk to us about the deductible buyback quote that she's got. So I'll give you the floor.
So I think, just to start with, we had talked originally about that crime policy. If you remember, we were at $50,000 for coverage for employee theft, forgery, and computer fraud. We talked about bumping that up to $100,000. What I thought was still the minimum premium, she told me no. It was only $33 more to go up. We're basically doubling that policy. So we're at $100 now. I am recommending to bump that up to the $100,000 for that extra $33. Can make us, a request.
And was that in, I'll have to go back and look at what was quoted.
So we have currently a policy for $50,000 on it, and it's $100 for that policy. And I'm recommending upping that to $100,000 for $33 for the year.
Okay. We can wrap that into the resolution.
Sure. The other thing was the cadet program. I've reached out a couple times to EMC and Jester on that. They're kind of looking to see if they can find anything to help you with that. I do remember them talking about, sexual misconduct is an issue. They want to make sure that you build that into the policy, that, anybody that's a minor should not be left alone
Right, where they have
with
two people.
anyone. Yeah, one person would be one of the main things that I I remember, you know, so when you're working on that, you know, I know that was a big factor on that. So I am still trying to see if there's something available to help. Should I be sending that to you and Verna if I find it? Or
Yeah, that'd
what
be
would you
great.
like me?
Yep.
Is that
And
okay,
if you
Verna?
don't have contact for Verna, you can just send it
Yep.
to me and I'll make
Okay.
sure she gets it.
Okay. And then I think Dave and Mac, when things got a little less crazy, were going over the equipment floater policy to make sure that those items were up to date, because I think that when we had sat and reviewed the EMC policy, we kind of caught that some of those things were not correct on that.
Yeah, I don't think they've quite gotten to it yet, so.
Okay, okay.
Because that would require things to be not crazy, so we'll let you know.
I get that too. But I do have, and sorry Dave, I don't have this to share with
It's all
you,
good.
is the reason for the buyback policy. I can leave another one for Dave, but kind of just giving you at the top there, that EMC statement of values. What we're talking about is, for example, the fire station and its contents are at 1.3 million, where the deductible on the EMC policy would be like $13,000 for that. When you're looking at even like the water tower, you know, it's $1 million, you know, building, you know, there's $10,000 deductible. You know, we're adding all of these up and we're coming up with that, you know, if the town was wiped out, you know, there's $37,000 there for deductible with what EMC has changed on their policy. So we are recommending an Associated Electric and Gas Insurance Services through Lloyd's of London gave us a quote so that we can just have the $5,000 deductible on that. That premium was $2,423 to do that policy. I did check on the $10,000 deductible. It was $2,076 for the year. I don't know if I was loud enough, Dave, that you caught that.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I turned the mic, so I think
Okay.
that helps.
So is this the standard way we do this now? Everybody's going to like 1% policy?
We are seeing that the commercial policies and the homeowners policy, you know, you're seeing that with State Farm, you're seeing that with Nationwide, you know, they're making that transition to 1%, but, you know, when you're talking about a homeowner's policy, it isn't quite as big as all the properties that add up for what the city has.
We might have a little bigger budget.
Yes, yes, but nobody wants to take out of it, you know, $37,000 if there was, you know, a loss.
I bet if we got wiped out, 37,000 something.
Right.
What's the maximum payable? What does that mean?
So the maximum payable is taking that $37,391.51, which is what the deductible would be with EMC, and subtracting the $5,000 deductible, so this policy would pay out then the $32,000.
So our out-of-pocket would be
$5,000.
$5,000.
The maximum this policy is gonna pay out is $32,000, which is the difference from the total insured
So they
value.
pay off our deductible is what? Okay. Okay.
Yep,
So we would have a $5,000 deductible to take care of the
37, yeah.
Or $37,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's a new concept, I think, that we're not used to.
just like it's like a gap.
Yeah, it is like gap insurance, definitely, yep. Yep. On that same,
Just hail, wind, fire, vandalism, all these things.
this is gonna be just for the wind and hail
Wind and
part
hail,
of it, yep.
okay.
So it's gonna be those, good old storms, Iowa storms that we're.
Homeowners want the roofs going up.
Yep, yep. And remember that the city's renewal was, I think, just under 3% was what we had figured for EMC. I don't know what you had budgeted for, but
think we usually plan on 5, so. Any other questions? Again, we won't take action on this tonight, I wanna make it into a resolution.
Anybody have any questions on that?
I think we're good.
All right.
How much are we saving by doing this, or is this is an option, or this is the way it's gonna be?
It's an option. It's an optional policy.
And how much is this gonna cost us?
The 24, 23, 40.
Right there, the annual premium.
Okay,
Yep. Or if you did the $10,000 deductible, that's at the bottom, Joe.
good.
Yeah, so worst case scenario, if we have to use this, we would have the 24, 23, 40 plus the 5,000, you know, because of the incident. So that's $7,500 versus $37,000.
Is it 5,000? Oh, per occurrence, it's right there, never mind, I answered my own question.
Now, what does an occurrence consist of? Does that,
Just a
is
storm.
that
Just a
storm.
storm.
a,
A
so
storm.
that
So today's
event-
storm is an occurrence. Tomorrow's storm is another occurrence.
Okay, so,
The day. It's occurrence, yep.
Alright,
Okay.
thank you, Chris, I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're welcome.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Both Chris's. Alright. Next on the agenda, resolution 2024-32, adopting the job description for the city administrator and authorize use in recruitment. So, on page 21, you do have the job description. It's backwards because it's actually like an attachment to the resolution. I backed things out a little bit, so the previous one, which I can provide a copy if council would like it, had that this position was responsible for a lot of things, and that was the intention originally. And then the public works, and at that time we had the deputy clerk position, were more of the delegation, that's where the work flowed down. I got some feedback, also saw it with my own eyes, that didn't necessarily work as intended. We ended up with some bottlenecks and those types of things, and so took a little different approach with it this time and moved it more into an oversight for those operations that we have covered by other staff. So, budget oversight, there's the word management in there because they do need to, from a strategic standpoint, help us manage the budget. But the water and wastewater systems, it's the supervising the operation, not necessarily responsible for, if that makes sense. But then put a lot more emphasis on public improvement, so really our strategic investments around projects, construction, maintenance, those types of things, because there is a fine balance between what we can do new and what we have to maintain. Let's see, contracts and purchasing, so really helping us become more efficient there. I think we've made some headway over the last couple of months in how we're asking for quotes and those types of things, but as you can see, we still have we have room to grow there, so I think there's opportunities to manage our contracts really closely and streamline some purchasing, really help support that, compliance with contracts, because a lot of times we sign them and then we have a lot of faith that our contractors are going to execute, and we need somebody that's going to be a little bit closer to it. Policy implementation, this one's big. You can have too much policy, I don't think we do. I think we've got some room to build some things out. Procurement's a great example. I have some, sorry, I keep notes on my phone. Procurement, snow removal, I've got some more strategic, comprehensive planning, like our comp plan, the capital improvement plan, the park project, a street plan, really what's it look like? We can't do a street a year. We have several, we probably have several that need attention, so what's that plan? those types of things. The economic development, drawing in more businesses. Where do we develop? Where do we want commercial versus residential? Those types of things. So our zoning and land management, and then that strategic planning. So that's the direction I took with this particular job description. Any questions? Did I miss anything? Oh, and grant writing. Grant writing and fundraising will also be key for this position. Go find us money.
I do appreciate that we are giving more responsibility to Vicky and Mac directly. And that, yeah, it's not, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do that? They have
I
autonomy.
recommend, yes.
And, you know, I think Mac's definitely proven that he can handle that.
We basically threw him in the fires.
Yeah. He's, evidence number one, it's getting taken care of. Number two, he's sitting right there.
That's right.
He hasn't run away. So, I mean,
Wait, go.
I did leave in here under licensing to obtain their water distribution, water treatment, and wastewater. Part of the intent was that we have that backup, so that if staff turns over, now granted, Kenny's been fantastic, but we're not guaranteed to always have a Kenny. And so we would be in a world of hurt if he wasn't willing and so attentive to our needs. Frankly, we've been pretty needy lately, so. I cringe to think what would happen if we weren't able to contract for that. But a lot of the previous job description did have some tactical things like knowing all the equipment we use for public works, being able to operate. I took all of that out, like that would fall specifically to public works. I do envision we'll have to look at this at our staffing model again if we get much more development. There may be a need for additional help on the public works side. But I'm willing to take this one step at a time.
are you going to do a reading?
Yes,
of the
I just want to see if
resolution?
there were any questions before I did.
Okay.
What do we have on hiring people if we need to hire? Do they do all the hiring? Or is the council involved in that, or is leaving that up to the administrator?
I did not put hiring in there. Oh, one piece, thank you, reminder. We will have to, I would like to do a fast follow with an ordinance. So I've seen a lot of cities that have the city administrator or city manager role do have an ordinance defined, much like we do for city clerk. It just lays out the roles and responsibilities. And what I've seen in there, Dave, is around hiring. I would like to keep council involved. We're a small town. We don't have, you look at a Marion, they've got resources, they've got department heads, they've got the city manager, they've got other folks that are weighing in. It's our responsibility to weigh in, and so I would still leave hiring to a committee as well as the manager or the administrator. But I don't think we need the ordinance. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I don't think we need the ordinance in order to start hiring. Great example, I looked, so Ely recently implemented the city administrator. Their code, they basically took their city clerk and made it /administrator. I'd want to do a little bit more explicit than that, so.
Separate administrator definition.
Yeah, but it does not seem to be required that we have it, it's just best practice, so.
It makes everything clear.
Yes.
It makes it on the ordinance, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up.
No, great question. Any other questions on the job description? If not, I can read the resolution. All right, So it is resolution 2024-32, adopting job description for city administrator and authorizing its use in the recruitment process. Whereas the city of Alburnett, Iowa recognizes the importance of maintaining clear and updated job descriptions for all positions within the city government. And whereas the position of city administrator is currently vacant and the city must recruit qualified candidates to fill this critical role. Whereas the job description for the city administrator has been reviewed and updated to accurately reflect the current duties, responsibilities, and qualifications necessary to meet the needs of the city and its residents. And whereas it is essential that this updated job description be adopted prior to initiating the recruitment process for the open position of city administrator. Now therefore it be resolved by the City Council of the City of Alburnett, Iowa, that the City Council hereby adopts the updated job description for the position of city administrator attached hereto and incorporated by reference. The City Council directs that this updated job description be utilized in the recruitment and hiring process for the vacant city administrator position. And the updated job description shall take effect immediately upon the approval of this resolution, and recruitment to fill the position shall commence thereafter. Do we have a motion to approve resolution 2024-32?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Myers, and I've got a second by Trum. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? What?
None here.
Okay, so hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Alright. I didn't have it on here, I don't think it's not necessarily an action item. Is there anyone, I would like to get this rolling as quickly as possible, to get it posted and start interviewing. Anyone interested in participating on the interviewing committee? Got Joe. Any other council members? I will involve staff as well as they are available.
I can't see Dave raising his hand.
Do you raise your, are you on video? I've got it hidden.
Yeah, I'm on video. And if you need somebody, I will, otherwise, yeah, I can if nobody else will.
Alright, sounds good. I'll put a slash Dave. Got it. Thank you very much.
I'll be a second alternate.
Second alternate? Alright, I'm calling on you.
Well, I just moved him up to first alternate.
You spoke too soon. Alright, perfect. Thank you very much. That moves us on to page 24, resolution 2024-33, establishing a purchase authority for certain expenditures without prior council approval. So, this is what Ms. Verna's been waiting on. We did get a skeleton from Walker that they used. We built on it a little bit. So the gist of it, I'll read through it once we kind of talk through it, but I'm going to need some fill in the blanks here, is that we can authorize the purchases and payment for these without prior council approval. Again, this is kind of a stopgap for now until we get that full procurement policy in, but it's definitely going to help just make things more efficient so we don't have people sitting around waiting. We only meet once a month, so I want to make sure that our staff and volunteers have what they need to keep everything running. So, first and foremost is emergency repairs. So the purchase is necessary for the repair or replacement of essential equipment or infrastructure to prevent disruptions. With a not to exceed. Also, council can strike the not to exceeds. If you'd like to, you can modify this however you'd like. There is a clause at the bottom. Yeah, I feel that I'm not reading it yet, but that everything, all expenditures under this resolution will be documented and recorded. So you will see the what and the why. It's not as though it's just going to happen and you'll never hear about it. It's just how do we make sure our folks have the autonomy that they need to do their jobs. So for emergency repairs, for example, if you wanted to strike the not to exceed, then it would just be we'd come back with the why was this an emergency and justify it that way. So
What about with emergency repairs that would require mayoral approval?
happy to do that too.
So, and then that way, because emergency repairs, I hate to put a price tag on that, right?
Yeah.
What kind of emergency are we talking
Well,
about?
it's
I
like,
mean,
if we have the the skid steer or something like that, and that just breaks down in the snow season. That was a big dollar item.
Yeah.
That's a good thought, put the mayor on that too, so
I-
at least somebody's aware.
And that way, we don't have to leave them in a lurch or call a special meeting or anything like that. As long as they say, here's what's going on, this is what happened, this is what it's gonna cost, and this is why we have to do it right now. And if it, we'll leave it at your discretion, if that,
So that was the first fill in the blank. The next one is around routine supplies. So the procurement of routine office supplies, maintenance materials, and similar items necessary for daily operations not to exceed X amount per transaction. So again, this is things like tools for the shop, Mac buys a pallet of fertilizer or pothole patch, those types of things.
have we looked at, like, how much our average trip to Menards or wherever to get those kinds of
Or
tools and implements?
a load of sand and salt, something like that, that's normal stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, a pallet of fertilizer is $800-900. A cutting edge for a snowplow is $800-900. I mean, for one truck, kind of just
So
depends.
would we,
Yeah, I mean, that's like a one-time, that'd be a one-time purchase if you need it, and that second one, this would come in effect again, right?
Yeah, per transaction, yep.
That'd make that $1,000.
so would we want to put it at 1,200 just to give it a buffer and fluctuation of
That's
cost?
good.
Everything's going up, right?
Yeah. The proposal is 1,200, Dave, I don't know if you could hear that. We can also add,
If I would,
go ahead.
I was thinking 1,000 to a little bit more, yeah.
Okay. We can also add with budget availability so that he can't, no offense, I'm not saying you're going to, but he can't overspend us. So, do you give him this much leeway, also certifying the
Yeah.
budget's available, so that's one more safeguard we could put in there, because we should be watching that closely enough that we're not getting squeaky close anyway.
$1,200 sounds like a good number.
Alright. Got that one. And the last, fill in the
Would
blank,
we put up,
1,200.
would we put up, no, for the emergency repairs?
We struck that and just said with mayor approval.
Okay, all right, I missed that.
Yep, you're good. I'll read
Go
it.
ahead.
I'll read it back. I'm taking notes.
Okay.
All right. Last blank is on the, essential supplies for the fire department. Purchase of supplies critical to the functioning of the fire department, including but not limited to personal protective equipment, medical supplies, and other necessary operational materials not to exceed, fill in the blank, per transaction. Does that satisfy for the most part? I mean, we didn't want to be too specific, but also not so generic that we can't actually use it, because that's could be part of the problem as well, so. Because I think it had firefighting gear, and I was like, that's-
Firefighting gear is kind of expensive.
Yes, that was my other
So
thought.
we'd be looking at something different when it came to that, that's a different category. My purpose was specifically for medical in particular, mostly because it's something I gotta have now, not,
There's probably a lot of single-use items that
yes.
have to
Because
be
everything
replenished.
is, right, because ours is once and done.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to use some of that stuff again, obviously. So that's our purpose. I need to order some eye gels. That'll be a once and done purpose. If I'm gonna have something that I have to throw down your throat so that I can get you to breathe, that's a one-time purpose.
You don't get that back. There you go.
I'm not taking it back, okay? So it's things like that, the suction things that I needed, the catheters, it's stuff like that. If it's actual equipment, that's another story. We would have to come and look at our budget type thing.
Yeah, I'd like to see us planning ahead for the the
I am
bigger
just looking
purchases.
at things that I can get to replace when I'm out on a call and I need to replace things. Another thing we have to consider is, you know, like if we have a code where somebody, a code, I don't know if everybody knows what that is. A code is when somebody is in cardiac arrest and it's a full-blown CPR situation. So, you know, I would need to make sure that I have pads for the defibrillator, because that's a one-time use. Once that's done, pads are gone, I need another set. And I have to have a set on hand no matter what, because once those leave, that doesn't mean in 3 hours I won't have another one. So those are the kind of things that you're looking at, you know. That was my purpose.
Okay.
Understand, do you have a dollar figure that sounds reasonable for something like that?
Well, I was hoping like $1,000,
Not enough?
I'd say 1,000 to 12, I'd be in the same category, I think.
And it is per transaction, so,
Right, right.
you know.
So I'm
it's-
not looking to spend buku bucks, it's,
Yeah.
I need stuff to be able to restock. That is my
Yeah,
biggest
that's
issue.
that's what I'm saying though, is that if you know, if your average purchase is like 800, well, then,
And then you have a busy month, now you've had, yeah, 2
Right.
Yeah,
transactions. Yeah.
so I mean,
And-
if you think 1,200's a fair number to replenish after,
That would be very, very helpful, cause I was gonna say, my biggest thing was like, when we had the inspection coming in from the state, and we had stuff that had expired and we needed to get that quick. John went to area and got stuff from area ambulance to cover us. So, it's kinda crucial.
what is shelf life on some of that stuff?
Some of it could be, depending on what it is, it can be up to a year, some of it can be up to 3 years, some could be 5 years. Depends on what it is that you're getting. We also have medications now that we keep, and those don't last as long, obviously. But we don't go over abundance on that either, because we don't get enough calls to keep that kind of stuff on hand that heavily. We're not like Center Point Ambulance that has to have it, you know, that type thing. So there's a difference there. And we can get stuff from Center Point, but what's difficult is they need everything they get too. And they
We
only.
can't depend on them to order for us,
Right, we
Yeah.
can't.
so.
That's why we need to get our own set up.
And eventually, we can work on like an inventory system of trying to track how frequently things get purchased and how frequently we can replenish and try to anticipate this. I mean, you know, it's hard to anticipate emergencies,
Correct.
but you can get a feel for how often something's getting used, and say if we buy X number of these, we know we'll get through them before they expire.
Right.
And then we'll also have plenty on hand. But for the time being, does 1,200 sound like a fair number as well?
Works for me.
Works for me. You gotta keep that thing, you gotta keep them up, so.
I'd say this is something we can, you know, put a number on it, and if it gets out of control, we can relook it.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll keep an eye on it.
So,
We're not
When
planning to
vertigo's
go that
crazy.
route. I don't plan to go that route.
All right. Those were the only fill in the blanks, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this one. It is kind of long, I apologize. Resolution 2024-33, establishing the purchase authority for certain expenditures without prior council approval. Whereas the Alburnett City Council recognizes the need for efficient and timely procurement processes to support the operational needs of the city. Whereas certain purchases and payments are routine, time-sensitive, or essential to ensure the uninterrupted functioning of city services and operations, and may require immediate action that would be impractical to delay until the next scheduled council meeting. Now therefore it be resolved by the City Council of the City of Alburnett, Iowa as follows. Authority for the purchase and payments. The city clerk or their designee is hereby authorized to make purchases and payments without prior city council approval for the following categories of expenditures. Emergency repairs, purchases necessary for the repair or replacement of essential equipment or infrastructure to prevent operational disruptions or safety hazards with mayoral approval,
Written,
with written mayoral approval.
meaning that you can document it via email.
Routine supplies, procurement of routine office supplies, maintenance materials, and similar items necessary for daily operations not to exceed $1,200 per transaction. Replacement of essential supplies for the fire department operations, purchases of supplies critical to the functioning of the fire department, including but not limited to personal protective equipment, medical supplies, and other necessary operational materials not to exceed $1,200 per transaction. Payroll and payroll taxes, payments for employee wages, payroll taxes, and any related liabilities due to federal, state, or local entities. Employee benefit premiums, payments for health, dental, vision, retirement, and other employee benefit premiums. Utility payments, payments for essential utilities, including but not limited to electricity, water, gas, and internet and phone services necessary for the functioning of city facilities. Postal expenses, costs associated with postage, mailing services, and shipping. Fuel purchases, the procurement of fuel necessary for city vehicles, machinery, and equipment. Bond and interest payments, payments on bonds, notes, and associated interest due to fulfill the city's debt obligations. Audit filing fees, payments for audit filing fees required to maintain compliance with regulatory or oversight agencies. Property taxes, payment of property taxes due on city-owned properties. Business credit card payments, payments on business credit card accounts for authorized city-related expenditures subject to documentation. Payment of sales tax owed to the state of Iowa in compliance with applicable tax laws. Class training, seminar registration, and lodging fees, payments for registration and associated lodging expenses for employee training, certifications, and professional development seminars approved by the city. And then time-sensitive vendor payments, payments to vendors where a discount may be obtained or where a late fee or penalty may be imposed if the payment is not made within a specific time period. Reporting requirements. All expenditures made under this resolution shall be documented and reported to the city council in the subsequent meeting, including a brief description and justification for the purchase or payment. Annual review. This resolution shall be reviewed annually by the city council to ensure that the purchase limits and categories remain appropriate for the city's operational needs. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. Whew. All right, any other questions? I would seek a motion to approve resolution 2024-33.
Is this roll call?
Yes, I have it on the bottom, so I would remember.
Okay.
I'll move that we accept resolution 2024-33.
Motion by Bozenberg, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sukup. Any further discussion? All right, hearing now, we're gonna do a roll call. Counselor Bozenberg,
Yay.
Counselor Trump,
Aye.
Counselor Sukup,
Aye.
Counselor Myers.
Aye.
That motion carries. Okay, next one. Resolution 2024-34, establishing restricted reserve funds and approved FY25 budgeted transfers. So during our budgeting process this year, we did set aside certain transfers for reserve funds to start building up for big projects that we know are coming. We've got a bridge that we know needs to be, I believe, replaced, maybe repaired, I can't remember. I think it's replaced. Fire department apparatus, just to start building that fund, having that money set aside. The new park project, equipment reserve, which we have had, so this one is not a new fund, but we do have a scheduled transfer into it. And then actually number 5 should come up. So it is just the lagoon restricted reserve fund. There's misunderstanding about whether we also needed the sewer, which we do not. And that is for the dredging project that we've talked about, because we think we're 10 years or so from having to dredge, and so kind of start.
Strike that one out.
We can strike number 5.
Yep.
They're the same.
Okay.
So we called it lagoon. So that is for the lagoon dredging project. The table below are those scheduled transfers. So these are budgeted. It was in the FY25 budget. So this is, we actually just did a very similar one in June for FY '24, we're just ahead of it. We can move the money whenever, we just have to move it within the fiscal year, based on the transfers that we have set up. Any questions on this resolution? Alright, I'm gonna give it a read, I'm not gonna read the table. Y'all can look at that later. It's in the budget, we did the public hearing, the whole deal. So, Resolution 2024-34, establishing restricted reserve funds and approving the FY '25 budgeted fund transfers. Whereas the city of Alburnett is committed to sound financial management and the allocation of funds to restricted reserve accounts to ensure the long-term sustainability of essential services. Whereas the city of Alburnett recognizes the need to reserve funds incrementally for known future large-scale projects or purchases to avoid the burden of spending them all at once, thereby maintaining financial stability and minimizing the impact on annual budgets. Now therefore it be resolved that the city clerk be directed to establish the following restricted funds in the city general ledger, and the city treasurer establish corresponding accounts in the treasurer's report. The Bridge Restricted Reserve Fund, Fire Department Restricted Reserve Fund, New Park Restricted Reserve Fund, Equipment Restricted Reserve Fund, and the Lagoon Restricted Reserve Fund. Be it further resolved that the city clerk treasurer be directed to make these budgeted transfers. Those do total according to the table. Total transfers is $575,600. And that is that. I would seek a motion to approve resolution 2024-34.
So moved.
Moved by Myers, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trum. I'm gonna do another roll call, cause this is money. So, Counselor Trum,
Aye.
Counselor Bosenberg,
Aye.
Counselor Sukup,
Aye.
Counselor Myers.
Aye.
That motion carries. Alright, next one, resolution 2024-35 is approving the fund transfer to close out the emergency fund. So, this is a fund that is no longer applicable, and so we are no longer receiving revenue into the emergency fund. It is not a thing, so we have to move our money out. It will be moved into the general fund. This resolution also establishes that if we do happen to receive, so sometimes property tax payments come in late, and so we may get some straggling contributions. We do not get any new property taxes, but if there are some delinquent property taxes, they may hit this emergency fund. And so it does establish the ability for Vicki to just make the same transfer out of that fund. We do have to close this one out. So, Resolution 2024-35, approving the fund transfer to close out the emergency fund 119E, whereas the city of Alburnett has received the final revenue payment from Lynn County for property taxes to assist with emergency expenses, and whereas the city council of the city of Alburnett, Iowa wishes to close out the real estate emergency levy fund 119E and deposit any revenue further received into general fund 001. And whereas the real estate emergency levy fund 119E has an ending balance of $19,435.06. And whereas the city clerk has submitted the following transfer to close out fund 119E, you can see it there. Now therefore it be resolved by the city council of the city of Alburnett, Iowa, that the city clerk is directed to make these recommended transfers. We left that plural, again, for future transfers. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2024-35?
So moved.
Moved by Sukup. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trum. Roll call please. Counselor Trum?
Aye.
Counselor Bosenberg?
Aye.
Counselor Sukup?
Aye.
Counselor Myers?
Aye.
That motion carries. Okie dokie. Alright. New business. 11F, discuss trick-or-treat date and time. Nothing in your packet for this one. I'm just proud of myself that I remembered before the October meeting. So, on it. We historically have held trick-or-treat on Halloween, October 31st, I believe from 5 to 7 p.m.
What day of the week is that on?
It is on a Thursday.
Sounds good.
I've never heard any complaints, so. You wanna make me a motion?
I move we have Halloween trick or treating from 5 to 7 on October 31st, 2025.
I have I've got a motion by Trump.
24.
Sorry.
We were talking FY twenty, it's FY 25.
24, this year.
This coming. Alright, I got a motion by Trump to set trick or treat for October 31st, 2024 from 5 to 7 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Myers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Alright, old business, final reading of ordinance 2024-3, amending the City of Alburnett zoning map. We have not received any questions or comments on this particular ordinance. We have gone through all 3 readings. So unless council has anything to add, I would seek a motion to approve the final reading of ordinance 2024-3.
So moved.
Moved by Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
second,
Second by Trum. This one again is roll call because it's an ordinance. Counselor Trum,
Aye.
Counselor Bozenberg,
aye,
Counselor Myers,
Aye.
Counselor Sukup.
Aye.
Good, you're right there. That motion carries. Okay, last item on the agenda. Discussion and possible action regarding the water drainage issue on Longworth Avenue. So, this one, it came up years ago that there is drainage issues. I've got a map. I do.
Great.
Sorry, it's a little bit little. The assessor changed things. Now it's squished. So, I am on Longworth. You'll notice we've got Longworth Avenue. It's not gonna let me scroll. There we go. This is Roosevelt Street. So it is where Longworth, between Willow Street and Howard, which is just north here. Howard's gonna be right there. Between these houses, there is an easement, 10-foot easement. There is a drainage tile there.
Is that a utility easement?
It is a utility easement. There is a drain tile there. This was brought to council's attention many years ago, and at that time, that council had made the determination that that drainage tile was not on the plat for the subdivision, and so they were unaware of its existence and did not take ownership for it. What I will say, I had Matt go out and look, it does plumb directly into the storm sewer intake, is that correct?
Yeah, part of it does, yes.
How big a tile are we talking about?
So there's a storm box right here. And
So does that storm sewer go across the road, continue south then?
Yeah, there's a,
The
yeah,
outlet?
The big culvert.
Yep.
Yep.
there's a large tile coming into that, headed north, and then it exits, and then it's just like surface. People have tile and whatever, combination
So
of things
how
north
far,
of that.
you say a large tile, how far does that go north from the street? And how big a tile are we talking about?
I don't know exactly what size it is. It doesn't go, yeah, it's a,
It's a 14
Like what
or
goes
12
into
or 14,
the- yeah.
something like that.
and I'm not sure how far it goes north exactly on the property lines there. It's not very far. A house or two, a block or
Okay,
property or two.
so we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 or a dozen people to
So,
work with.
yes, there has potentially been some modifications to the tile over the years, specifically after no action was taken by council.
Another question,
Yes,
what's up there now, electrical and fiber optic and all of the above?
correct. I don't think gas runs back there. I think gas is on the street side. But I do know electric is back there. So yes, that is a consideration. What you do have in your packet, and this is what was not brought to council's attention the last time this was discussed, is ordinance, in chapter 170 is our subdivision regulations. So 170.13 does say, item number 2, that the applicant, this would be the person subdividing, may be required by the council to carry away by pipe or open ditch any spring or surface water that may exist either previously or as a result of the subdivision. Such drainage facilities shall be located in the road right-of-way where feasible, or in perpetual unobstructive easements of appropriate width, and shall be constructed in accordance with the standards and specifications. So that establishes that drainage should be part of the subdivision. And then I'm gonna have you go to the last page of your packet. And so, item 3 says the following shall apply to the dedication of drainage easements. We're gonna skip to item B. That says, where topography or other conditions are such as to make impractical the inclusion of drainage facilities within the street rights of way, perpetual unobstructed easements of at least 15 feet in width for such drainage facilities shall be provided across property outside the street lines with satisfactory access to the road. Easements shall be indicated on the plat. Drainage easements shall be carried from the street to natural water course or to other drainage facilities. So, it does satisfy both of those. It's a 10-foot easement, not 15. It is also a utility easement, but we have determined that drainage exists there. So, this has gone unresolved. I will say I visited right here where it starts. So let me change their side. So I believe the pipe starts somewhere in here. This is just a swamp. There is standing water. This was a tree. I think it might still be there. They took something out. It could have been a koi pond. There was so much standing water. Now, I do know we've had a wet spring, but it's not the wettest we've ever had. It's not unprecedented by any means. So, it is unobstructed for the most part. I looked down because almost all of these houses have fences. They are outside of the easement. They're not tied together. There were a couple of like birdhouses and things that would be easy enough to move.
Yeah,
Um,
so we could get access there.
Yes. So what I would like to ask council, because we really don't know what we don't know, it's been many years and things can change. We do also know that one homeowner has made modifications to his own backyard to try to help with the drainage issue. He added like a retention basin and he's trying to pump the water out to the street from his backyard, so it is a,
To the west?
yes.
Okay.
So we do still see that the issue continues, so I would like to ask council to entertain the idea of having Roto-Rooter come back out and run a camera up the pipe. I think we had done it once. They may have to do it from both ends because it's my understanding that there may be obstructions within the pipe. I have talked to this particular homeowner and they'd be more than happy to let them dig up and find the end on her property and go that way, and then obviously from the south, they could get there from the storm sewer. Thoughts, discussions?
Well, you have to start with the camera, assuming what you got.
I think we have to start, to your questions, Joe, you're not wrong, this is not gonna be an easy fix. It is gonna probably have to be hand dug if we do need to replace it, but we really don't know what that story looks like. If it's just a section, is it the whole thing? We don't know until we've kind of seen what's going on. But I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Previous council had made the decision it was not on the plat, and therefore it was not the council's responsibility, so you still have that to stand beside as well.
I don't like sitting on the sideline on this. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of town to look after. We should be able to look after this.
It is
At
in our
least-
easement. I have a hard time believing it's of private nature when it's in the utility easement.
I would like to have the camera run, definitely. And figure out what the problem is, figure out how it can be tackled. You know, how much it'll cost, how much, do we make it a community day event next year, see how much you can dig?
You have races. Run fiber optic, that'd be fun.
He said you get to supervise it.
So, but yeah, we need to know what we're up against first, so. And then we've gotta work this problem
understanding Roto-Rooter doesn't do quotes, so I didn't bring you a quote, so I was hoping we could just approve the action. I will say, this one's a little bit of a sensitive nature regarding council, because I do have 1.5 council members that have a conflict of interest. So Councilor West lives right here, so his property backs up. Councilor Sukup have relatives that live right here, so that's my half a councilor that I'm like, I would rather you abstain. So I needed a very special quorum in order to take action on this item, just to keep them out of harm's way, so.
So I move we have their camera that section to determine what we got.
Motion by Trum, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Myers. Any further discussion? Dave, I know you can't see my screen, I probably could have shared it, but you were at the August 27th meeting when we talked about it, so do you have any specific questions?
Nope, I just, go ahead and get her done.
All right, well, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. You say I abstain. Wonderful. That motion carries. It's hard when you're in the habit of just saying aye, so it's like, I'll give you the reminder. All right, brings us to the end of our agenda. We are down to final comments. I will start to my left. Councilor Myers, any final comments?
Thank you very much for everything that you've done. Stepping in, it's huge, really appreciate it.
You should check out the base out there. It's pretty. So nice. Councilor Sukup?
I'll just echo that. Thank you for everything. It's a hard time to step in and did a lot for us. So thank you.
That plus, we got a lot done tonight.
We did. It's a good agenda.
That's it.
All right. Zach, anything to add?
No.
Verna, final comments?
No, thank you.
All right. Eileen, any parting words?
It's been fun, thank you.
Time to see ya.
Your definition of fun's a little different.
Well, it's been fun with Bethany and Vicky, they're wonderful, so.
You having cake and punch tomorrow?
All right, with that, we confirm the date and time of our next meeting, October 10th, 2024 at 7 p.m. And I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a motion by Myers. Dave, I got you for a second. Second by Bozenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you joining.
No problem, thank you, bye-bye.
Have a good night.
I don't